everyone. Welcome back to another amazing episode of 52 Authors, 52 Weeks. Guys, I have in the building with me today, the virtual building, a powerful woman of God, Dr. Toni Cooper, who I said, oh, Psych D. That was something I thought about for a brief moment.
Mm.
And then I decided, let's just stick with health. Let's just stick with healthcare, right? Someone has to help with the administration of the healthcare. And also, for the last, I don't know, like 30 some odd years, I have been involved with the billing and coding
Oh
aspect. So, how
boy.
you get paid, right?
Oh
So,
yeah,
somebody had to do that.
that's right.
So I want to thank you so much for being a part of the 52 Authors 52 Weeks movement. And before we get into your book, I would love for you to tell our listening, viewing audience about your background. Before I hit the record button, you started to tell me that you went to school here in Chicago.
Oh yeah.
So I think you should tell us about that too.
Okay. Well, that's a long story, so I'll keep it the Reader's Digest version. So, my name is Dr. Toni Cooper. I'm a psychologist in private practice, and I mostly work with adults. I work with a lot of people who were traumatized in childhood, and I got interested in that when I saw a movie like in junior high about psychotherapy, and was like, I would like to do that. And they were treating people with PTSD. So, as I was developing in my career, I started counseling people, but I realized I don't know nearly enough to really be any help. So I started looking at schools, and I found an awesome school in Chicago. I don't know if it's still there. It used to be called the Illinois School of Professional Psychology. It was right downtown. And so God worked it out. I inherited some money right when I was applying to school. So my education was paid for. I didn't have to take out a bunch of loans, which is what people usually do. So God just confirmed, yes, you need to do this. So I finished my doctorate in clinical psychology in Chicago, thoroughly enjoyed the restaurants. I did very little shopping, but man, I visited those restaurants. I think I did a blues club, a comedy club. I mostly was there for school, and then I would like have other things. I was still working, and it was very exciting. I don't know what Chicago is like now. That was back in the 90s, but lots of public transportation. I learned how to use the L train, and it was fun.
You mentioned the L train, and I just kind of cringed. So let me just tell you this. So I've been in Chicago all of my life, over
Mm.
50 years, even though I don't look a day over
You
25.
don't. You don't.
And I will never forget going downtown Chicago on the train and got lost. And
Oh,
my mother was like, "You will never get lost down here again." So she started going through this whole thing. This street is a division line between north and south, east and west. And so now, even when I go downtown today, I know where I'm going because my mother like made that ingrained into my brain. And the funny thing is, you talk about childhood trauma. I don't like being lost. So
no, it's bad.
I like to, when I'm going somewhere, I like to pay attention to things along the way so I can retrace my steps on the way back.
There you go. Well, she prepared you for life then.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because this world is really big and you can get lost in it easily, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So, where are you located today?
I'm in Ohio. So I've lived in northeastern Ohio my entire life, and we have seasons here, kind of like Chicago. Chicago is a little more windy, a lot more windy, but the weather's pretty similar.
Wow. Well, and it's the middle of April now and we are getting some rain and some wind. And on one hand, you're like, "Oh, that's bad weather." But honestly, I like when it rains and it's really windy because it keeps some of the riffraff down. You asked
Mm.
about Chicago. There is definitely, I'm going to say, something in the air as it relates to our young people. I think that they need they need things to do to
Okay.
occupy their time, um, because you know about an idle mind. It results in some things happening that I think gives Chicago a bad reputation. But as a person who travels a lot, I'm like, this is happening everywhere,
Everywhere.
right? It's in your face because you live here.
Hmm.
So I I want to get into the book, and as I tell all authors, we don't want to tell them everything that's in the book because we want them to read the book. I'm gonna tell you something funny. I said, "Oh yeah, Dr. Toni Cooper followed APA format." I was looking at your reference page in the back, but I know we're going to talk about this book, but I just want to call out that you are literally doing some amazing things, and they're things that people need in a variety of topics. And I like how you call out in the very beginning of the book that this book, no book, is a substitute for therapy. And I personally learned after an event that
Hmm.
it's okay not to be okay, but
Hmm.
it is so important that you ask for help, that you seek help, because help is available and it's not something to be embarrassed about. I'm like, I'm embarrassed because I didn't ask for help and help was all around me,
Oh,
all
yeah.
around me.
We're not designed to do these things alone.
That is true. That is true. I was just thinking of this song. You are not alone. All right. I don't want to.
Ah.
I'm known for busting out into song on the podcast. So we're gonna try not to do that. Just, but
Hmm.
when there's something in your heart, you just gotta let it out.
Hey, if
So
the spirit moves you, go right ahead.
yes, yes. Oh, that's another song. Spirit. Okay.
Mm.
Uh so I love let me just say this side note. I love, 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 love praise and worship music. I
Mhm.
love music that just really speaks to your heart. And I love when the music allows me to share tears because I feel like I'm wearing away something that's holding me back. And I tell everybody I love a good cry.
We need it sometimes.
Yes, yes. So,
So, along with the topic of anxiety, depression, and helplessness, and the healing that's available through natural means, but you're talking about supernatural means right now. And so, I do have a little section in the book on the spiritual things we can do. And so, I'm jumping all over. I'm out of your format already.
oh
But
no, you're fine.
But you know what worship does is God created us with the spirit. And if you know Jesus Christ, your spirit is alive. And so sometimes he ministers to us to release things out of through worship. And so sometimes the worship can be quiet where we sit in his presence. Some people call that soaking. And sometimes the worship is that sacrifice of praise it talks about in Hebrews, where maybe my heart is broken, but in obedience, I'm going to worship. And God will meet us, and he does supernatural things through obedience, through worship. And so we don't want to we're commanded to worship for a reason. It's good for us.
Let everything that have breath praise the
Praise the
Lord.
Lord.
Yes. So, it's funny you talk about the spiritual aspect in the book because growing up in the church, the only thing that I was exposed to was praying about it.
Oh, mhm.
And yes, prayer does work, but you got to do the work too.
Right.
And that's
Right.
where I believe therapy is an important aspect. And I think there's this stigma associated with going to therapy, but I am a witness that it's a experience that once you get past that initial encounter, you're like, whoa, And I was like, hey, this is something that everybody should have a therapist, right? Like you got a medical doctor, you should have a therapist because you will need the both of them at some point in your life.
Exactly. One of the ways I explain this, and I think it is in the book someplace, is that God created us spirit, soul, and body. So I like to use the example of if I've been on vacation or the holidays and I put on 10 pounds or something, I can pray, Lord, please take this weight off of me. But probably I'm going to have to exercise and change how I eat. So we have these different dimensions, and problems have to be addressed through the proper dimension. So, physical problems probably will need to do some physical solutions. Spiritual problems have spiritual solutions, but our soul, our personalities, the way we think, that's formed through experience. And some of these things get so ingrained. And then we have distortions about ourselves, about God, about life, about other people. And so those have to be addressed directly most of the time.
Absolutely. So let's get into the book. I know on our pre-show notes you had tapped into 5 areas that I've kind of abbreviated in my own, my own notes. And
Uh-huh.
so the 5 things that I would like to explore, and this one I said, "Whoa, there's a title for this: Helplessness."
Mm,
Number 2, I knew about limiting beliefs.
mhm.
I call them the stories that we tell ourselves.
Okay.
Um, Number 3, strategies for coping. 4, this is something I had to learn, boundaries.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, boundaries. Boundaries will set you free. I learned as I got older that no is a complete sentence.
It certainly is.
And then the last aspect was about journaling. So let's talk a
Mhm.
little bit about helplessness. And you actually did some research on it. I was amazed at this research. I'm going to be honest. I
Oh,
was
thank
like,
you.
whoa.
Yeah, so the best way to explain learned helplessness is that if you know anything about how baby elephants are trained for the circus, I talk about this in the book. They tie the leg to a tree or a pole, something that is not going to move. So every time that baby elephant tries to move, it's pulled backwards. So this goes on until by the time they reach adulthood, they can be kept in one place just with the rope around the leg. It doesn't have to be tied to anything at all. So it's not hard to figure out how this might fit human beings. So if you grew up with chronic medical issues, a really controlling parent, a toxic kind of angry parent, some kind of people have all kinds of abuse these days that, even in the church, there's all kinds of abuse. Um, you could be the victim of a crime, or sometimes it's just even as an adult, something big happens that we don't know how to regroup. Or there's this low grade constant stress that we start to lose ourselves. And so, without judging ourselves, sometimes we're stuck for a reason. And many times, understanding that this learned helplessness can be real low grade or it could be more extreme, but it's just enough where we can't really move ahead on our goals or we just feel stuck a lot of times, is the way people express it.
Ooh, that word stuck is definitely something that I can identify with. And just all the things that you just talked about, I was reflecting on my own life and different trials and tribulations. But one of the things that I'm so grateful about is that I've always believed in there was more than what I'm seeing today,
Mhm.
and that I didn't need to hold all these things in because it was limiting me from experiencing what God said I'm supposed to have. I want
That's
my
right.
I want my abundance.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, and there's a scripture in Colossians 2 that I think it's verse 10, and it could be translated that the Lord died for us so we could be fully alive, body, soul, and spirit. So if you don't feel fully alive, then something is closed off, and you want to open that spigot so you can walk in the joy, the abundance, the confidence that God wants us to have.
Absolutely. I love that. But the reality is many of us have these limiting beliefs. I'm not good
Mm,
enough.
yep.
I don't deserve to be successful. I don't deserve to be an author. I don't deserve to be a parent. Right? It's all of these stories that we tell ourselves. And I thought about this for a long time, and I'm looking at the 4-year-old, 5-year-old version of myself who was just fearless and happy. Along the way, I think you start to lose that energy, that drive. You start to become afraid, and then you just kind of shrink
Mhm.
until you realize, oh, wait a minute, I am enough.
Mm. Yeah. As we, unfortunately, even if you have a perfect home environment, which almost nobody gets, um, things can happen like bullying at school, or we get our heart broken, or sometimes your friends turn on you. You get rejected, somebody that you think you're going to marry, somebody you did marry, and they do something, it's like you can't even get your mind around it. And so these things, women especially think, what's wrong with me? There's something wrong with me, or this wouldn't have happened. And if too many things happen, then we think, well, this is how it's always going to be. This is never going to change. And we might not even realize that this is the conclusion that we have accepted about ourselves. And the Bible also warns us about making vows. And many times people will make a vow, I will never trust again. I will never do that again. I won't speak up again. And then we're warned not to make a vow because it shuts off part of ourselves. And so when we're shutting off parts of ourselves and other people are doing things that we respond to by kind of shutting down, um, holding back, whatever, then pretty soon you're really kind of disconnected from your authentic self, who God created you to be. And as that starts happening, most people don't really know how to get out of it. And that's where a professional can be helpful. And I've been just kind of fascinated with this in my career about how do you get free? What do you need to do? Yeah, that's right, those handcuffs.
Wow. I like to say that we're allowing ourselves to be held hostage by
Hmm.
different things. And in the book, you talk about, I believe it was like breaking out of a cage that
Yeah.
you've allowed yourself to be in. And I think, and I was talking to another author about this, we spend so much time doing that we forget about just being, right?
Mhm.
Being our, first of all, learning about ourselves, right? Because you are so many things to other people. But what about the things that you need to be for you? Like, I
Mhm.
know Lisa likes to listen to music. Lisa likes to curl up with a good book. Lisa likes peaceful environments, right? I Lisa loves to love on other people, right? I love to give people hugs, and not just one of them side hugs, but a nice embrace,
Mm.
because you never know what that person is not getting, and just by giving them the hug, just really, you know I can transfer my warmth onto them. And so those are things that I know about myself, and I continue to explore me so that I can help others.
That's right. And the way that we're renewed is, it's like Psalm 23. You have to be still with the shepherd. And so he can refuel us. He can renew us, he can restore us, but we have to be still so that we can release the things that we're carrying that aren't good for us. And so we can also get the direction, the strategies, the wisdom we need, the power we need to keep being a light and to think about, if this isn't working, what do I need to do differently in how I cope, in how I relate to this person or that person? That repeating the same pattern over and over, that's very frustrating, and it's self-defeating. And so rather than do that, if we need to be still and maybe talk to another person, let the Lord direct us, read a book, listen to a podcast, do something where we're open to learning what we need to learn, and then be true to ourselves and not compromise to get somebody else's approval.
Somebody else's approval.
That's right.
When you talk about being still, I like to say often, I have during the pandemic, you know how you had those pandemic things? Well, we turned one of our bedrooms into a closet. So it's like a door that goes from our bedroom to the closet. And in the middle of the closet is this big, gigantic chase. And I love to go there with my book, shut the door, and I call it my secret place.
Mm,
And you need a place that's just for you, where you can get rid of all of the distractions, all the noise. I don't know. And I'm like, I'm 52. Did we always have all this noise? Because there's so much noise around us today that it's I think we need to go back to when life was simpler and we didn't have all this stuff.
mhm. So we have a choice how much of that noise we allow in. Some of it is unavoidable. The world is chaotic. Um, but if, like you have learned, you have a place where you are restored, where you're in a place of peace. We have to create that for ourselves and limit the people, the situations, the technologies that disrupt it.
Oh, you mean the boundaries?
That's what I mean.
So we talked just a second about boundaries, but I want to go back and see if you could offer some coping strategies, because I think a lot of times people can't move forward because they just don't know how to cope.
Yeah. Sure, I'll make some comments on that. So, again, I like to go back to body, soul, and spirit. So, first, we need to take care of our bodies. We only get one. And so, this sounds so simple, but it does affect your coping. You want to try to get some exercise, find one that you like. I like to play pickleball. If I had to go to the gym, it would never happen. But I found an exercise I like. So we want to get exercise. We need sleep. A lot of people are sleep deprived. That's going to interfere with whether you're choosing or whether you're reacting. And you don't want to just react. You want to be able to think about, maybe I don't want to comment on that. Maybe I don't want to post this. I'll just keep scrolling, so we need enough sleep. And we really have to be careful about what we put in our bodies. So this is a tough one for me. I love sugar. I have too much sugar. I'm always trying to, like, this is too much. I got to find some healthy alternatives because sugar is inflammatory. It's bad for us. Doesn't help with the weight management either. As you age, you can't get rid of it so fast. So caffeine is another one. Just about everybody loves their coffee, but it's a stimulant. And so you're going to be more irritable. You're going to be more anxious. I've been surprised how many people come in and they say that they think they're having panic attacks. And so I'll ask some of these things, and they're drinking a pot of coffee. And it's like, dear, 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 that is, I don't know if you have panic or if you just have too much caffeine. You have to watch that. It's delicious to get you started, but you have to watch how much caffeine you're having. And then, you know, I don't have an issue with somebody having a glass of wine, but if you find that you need alcohol to have fun, to relax, then you're using that as a substitute for coping. And alcohol is technically it's a poison. So again, we want to watch if I don't want to be legalistic, but let's be wise. If you find yourself drinking more than you know is a good idea, then you need to look at your stress management. So those are some simple things for the body, and there's a lot of different other techniques. You can go to YouTube and find like ASMR videos. You know about those? They're like you know, at Christmas time they show the fireplace and the fire
Oh,
crackling,
oh my
and the
gosh, I love those.
that's ASMR. And so they have all kinds, and you can find one with ocean sounds or whatever. So let yourself kind of unwind with that. There's also a technique called EFT, emotional freedom. It's tapping. And so you can also find videos. It's the simplest thing, but somehow it it uses pressure points in the body. A kid could do it. You only need to take a few minutes. You can find a YouTube video, and you use tapping to start to let the body unwind. So those are some things that address your physical body, because your body might get tight from too much stress. And so you need ways. I also like to clean, but that's, you know, my house is very clean when I'm stressed. You know, everything's been scrubbed. Okay.
Wow. You know, it's so funny. You talked about your body being tight, and it's not until after your body is not as tight that you realize how stressed out you were. And I say that because 3 years ago, I started on this journey to shed things that no longer served me.
Mhm. Mm.
And one of them was this full time job that I had.
Mm.
And I was juggling my business, working, I was teaching at a school online. And as these years continue, I'm like, whoa, you were so stressed out and you couldn't even see it. But I can tell now because I am experiencing this different version of myself.
Mm.
But as you get older, your body gets tighter. And so you talked about exercising, you talked about rest, you talked about um now I can't remember. See, maybe in my head.
Substances,
Yes,
substances. Yeah.
yes. I
Sleep.
think sleep. Sleep is actually something that we not just sleep. Because I don't know if you've read this book, but Dr. Sandra Dalton, MD, wrote a book called Sacred Rest. And
Mhm.
what I realized was that I was going to sleep, but I wasn't resting. And
Mhm.
now that I've experienced rest, true rest, it's amazing. You
Mhm.
wake up renewed in the morning because you've been able to allow your body to get the rest that it needed.
Yeah. Yeah, we need it. We're designed to need it. And sometimes the Lord will speak to you while you're sleeping. Last night, I got a creative idea while I was sleeping. It's like, thanks, Lord. I wouldn't have figured that out.
Yes, because you just stopped, right? And rested. So that way your body and mind and spirit were open to it.
Hmm. So, did you want a few suggestions on how to work with our brains, our thinking?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So, besides the journaling, which we can talk about, people are not aware sometimes of how they talk to themselves. We talk to ourselves all day long. We've got this running commentary, and here we call it smack. I don't know what you call it in Chicago, but if you are talking smack to yourself all the time, trash talk, then you're going to be anxious, you're going to be depressed. And we're told to dwell on what is lovely, what is true, what is gracious. So we want to start interrupting that negative, critical self-talk. And then this is what you can do when you journal. Replace it with something more positive and reasonable. That isn't the Holy Spirit when you have these judgmental thoughts. Romans 8:1 says, there's no condemnation to those who are in Christ Jesus. Many people think that's God, but it's not. It's your own soul. It's a form of self-rejection. And so we want to start to be aware of these critical automatic thoughts so that we can start gently replacing them with something more reasonable and positive. Most people know how they would talk to a friend. You don't say, like if I have a bad day playing pickleball, or one of my friends does, I don't say, you loser, you should quit. I say, well, you'll have a good day tomorrow. You're a good player. And, we get better all the time. And so you need to talk to yourself the way you would talk to someone you love or a child, but a child that you love. But so we have to retrain ourselves because most of us are very self-critical.
We are like our own worst enemy. Like we will talk ourselves out of doing something. And I have found for me, a lot of times it's fear.
Mm-hmm.
It's I'm too comfortable. And if I move over into this space, I'm going to be uncomfortable. And who wants to be uncomfortable? But what I found was that if I've prayed about it, I know that this is what I'm supposed to do. I have to allow myself to experience it. Because on the other side, I'm like, what have you been waiting for all this time? I will never forget, my husband kept saying, we talked about me quitting the job to focus on entrepreneurship. And every year he would say, it's okay if you do it. Just go ahead and do it. It was me who was saying, oh, I won't be able to do this. I won't be able to go this place. And I was so you talk about body being tight. My body was extremely tight. And it seemed like the day after I left, that tightness just started little by little unfolding. And now I feel kind of free.
Oh, good.
But you
Yeah.
know what I also have? Woo, peace.
Mm-hmm.
I have a level of peace that I've never been able to experience before. I didn't know it was possible to have this much peace.
Oh, that's awesome. And I do have a chapter in the book on perfectionism. And so people have to watch out because it's good to be, strive for excellence, but sometimes that fear is connected to, well, I might fail. But every new thing is generally a process, a learning curve. And so if I try something new and I don't do it great the first time, it's like, well, who does? We have to be able to talk to ourselves and say, I'm figuring this out. The Lord will help me do this. I'm learning one day at a time. I'll just, take one more step, and then eventually you're in a brand new place. And so we don't want to again, talk smack to ourselves during the transition because there is a transition from the old to the new.
Absolutely. And I love how in the book you have these sample coaching statements. And I love these because it's basically you're just flipping the thoughts, right? Like I will do the best I can. I can follow directions. I will work on it a little now and see how it goes. And my favorite, this doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
I think we were taught growing up, practice makes perfect. But now I personally am saying practice makes progress
Oh, that's good.
because there's nobody that's perfect on this
That's
earth.
right.
And so we got to get rid of that perfect mindset.
Yeah, it's very destructive. I was raised, do it right or don't do it at all.
Mm.
um, which is the same kind of thing. And it's like, well, you'll get better, but you don't start off doing everything right. You don't learn to draw. You don't learn to play the piano. I always go back to pickleball. Don't know how to play pickleball. It's like everything that's new, there's a step to it. There's a process to it. And then there's joy as you start to master it. But, when you go skiing for the first time, you're going to fall down.
Oh, yes, you're going to fall. I am a witness that you will fall down.
Right. But then it gets to be more fun and you learn how to control the skis. So everything is a process. And, if you can just enjoy the process and not be self-critical, you can do who knows what you'll be like in a year.
But you have to be willing to do the work. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's where a lot of us miss the message, because we're like, oh, I have faith that this is going to happen. But faith without the work just doesn't
It's
work.
dead. That's right.
It's
It's
dead,
dead.
right? And so I know for me, I do like this visual board of the things that I am putting in motion. And one of them, unlike you, I have student loan debt. And so
Oh,
I want to erase that student loan debt. And so every day I come down from the kitchen down here, I pass by that poster board that has that picture of student loans on it. And it's my constant reminder of the plans, but I'm doing the work to get it done. I'm not just saying student loans be gone.
yeah. Yeah.
Because
Like weight drop off. Yep.
right,
Yeah.
right, absolutely. So we are out of time. However, we're not going to go yet, because I really would love for you to do two things. Number one, tell our listening viewing audience the different places they can find you. Listen, guys, Dr. Cooper has a lot of self-help books.
Mm.
This first one that I'm seeing, Life Without Baggage, there's a song, Bag Lady. You're going to hurt your back carrying all those bags.
That's
um,
cute.
but I love this Life Without the Baggage because, and I haven't even read it, but I think we are all, not all, but a lot of us are carrying some heavy loads. And um, my grandfather is currently 104.
Wow.
Deacon Campbell, been a member of
Ooh.
his church for I think like 60 years, but I want to be 104 and still having an impact on people. And part of that journey that I'm on is I got to get rid of some baggage. And
Mhm.
baggage sometimes are people, things, and places.
That's for sure. Yeah. So that book has a lot of prayer exercises to address things that you might not even know are the source of the baggage. And so I have a lot of guided questions with exercises so that it, a lot of it is connected to vows and judgments we've made that, again, create these cages that we can't live in. And so they're very simple, but a lot of this it's really stuff I do with my clients in my office. And sometimes it is powerful in just breaking something off. That's right, those handcuffs.
I love this. I love this cover. And so where can our listening viewing audience find you? Because you're on YouTube, so you have to tell them about YouTube.
I'm everywhere. So if you go to my website, Dr. Toni Cooper, it's just Dr. Toni, Toni Cooper, then you will find how to look at the books that I've written, my YouTube channel. I have a podcast that's also called Life Without Baggage. I have some audio books. So since my daughter's grown, I do a lot of content creation. So you can find everything at the website, whatever you're looking for.
Did the younger version of you ever imagine you'd be doing what you're doing today?
Absolutely not.
Well, let me just tell you this analogy that I've been telling a lot of people about. Do you remember the cartoon? It was created in the 60s. They rebroadcast it in the 70s and 80s. It was called The Jetsons.
Oh, sure.
That was the future that we could not even imagine, and we are literally living it today.
Yeah.
So that tells me if that creator could have created that in the 60s, who knows what we could create today for the future? We have it inside of us.
Yeah. Yeah. And God gives you supernatural creative. That's the Holy Spirit. God is a creator. And so he can give you creative strategies regardless of whether you're in business or ministry or a homemaker. He gives us creative strategies to solve the problems of life so that we can have joy, we can have peace, and we can be an influence to carry his kingdom into this realm.
I love that. And that is a great place to end today's episode. Dr. Cooper, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. Those restaurants are still, well, I'm not going to say that they're all still here because many restaurants from back in the day have closed.
Yeah,
I
during
think it's just,
COVID.
yeah, during
Yeah.
COVID, I think it's a sign of the times. People are, kind of interested into experiences. But I hope to meet you one day. I try not to go to other cold places when it's cold
Okay.
because I don't like the cold. I tolerate it because my parents are still here. My grandfather is here, so I stay here because of
Mhm.
them. But I hope to be able to meet you in person one day.
That would be awesome. I've so enjoyed our conversation.
Well, it was definitely a pleasure meeting you. I am wanting everyone to get a copy of this book, Anxiety, Depression, Helplessness, Keys
Keys.
to Break Free. And I
That's right.
don't know about you, but I love to break free of the things that no longer serve me.
Hmm.
That's my thing. All right, everyone. Well, this has been another amazing episode of 52 Authors, 52 Weeks. We'll see you next week.